Item Number SCP-7000 Security Level 4 Containment Class Neutralized. Special Containment Procedures. Due to SCP-7000's instantaneous demanifestation, no containment procedures are required. Description: SCP-7000 was an interdimensional wormhole that formed in Psych Beep's cafeteria on July 29th, 2022. SCP-7000 stayed open for 10 seconds. After closing, SCP-7000 left behind a recording device. Object was found to be non-anomalous. All files contained within the object are under review. Addendum 7001 Recovered Documentation. Note: all audio has been transcribed under orders from the O5 Council.
Date: January 2nd, 2022. Hello. This is Dr. Carl Hayden of the SCP Foundation. Me and my colleagues have been receiving reports of minor Hume fluctuations near Washington, D.C. It doesn't seem to be anything major thus far, but we are being dispatched there tomorrow. Hopefully all goes well. I'll update you again in my next report.
Note: there is no record of a Dr. Carl Hayden working for the SCP Foundation in our universe.
Date: January 3rd, 2022. Around 6 hours ago, a large glowing white figure appeared over Earth. It came in a blinding flash of light, without any warning. With some unknowable power, it spoke to every person on the planet. Or, that's what I believe it did. It decreed that it was here to restore order to our world of chaos, that it was here to bring back light into our world. A godlike visage in the eye of humanity left some speechless. All conflicts will be resolved in games of luck and chance, is what it said. At that moment, I saw hundreds of beams of light fall from the sky. I would see them strike the ground. A beam would strike a man next to me, instantly disintegrating him. Apparently, he took the moment to try and steal my wallet. Let this be a warning. All who go against this code shall be struck down by the hand of justice. It spoke with vitriol and contempt. The feeling of awe I had at that moment vanished. The visage destroyed, left with only horror. Date: January 5th, 2022. It has barely been 2 days and the world has already fallen apart. My colleagues at the SCP Foundation were some of the first to go. Many of them were struck down while trying to bring the world back to a state of normalcy. At this point, we've all but collapsed into the abyss. The entity seems to be somewhat omnipotent. It knows when someone tries to bend the rules. It doesn't allow anyone to beat the system it put in place. People who tried to cheat in their games were struck down. Anyone who tried to bypass a game was struck down. And anyone who tried to stop the games was struck down. We're all stuck in this never-ending game. As for me, I've been relatively lucky so far. Some people played me in a game of blackjack for my money, which I lost. I don't exactly know why they need money. Give it a few weeks and I wouldn't be surprised if all of it was made worthless. For now, though, I still have food to eat and a place to sleep, so my condition isn't too terrible. I just hope that we can recover from this in due time. Date: January 13th, 2022. It has been well over a week since my last entry, and almost all world governments have fallen. The only holdouts are a very well-fortified Japan, but even then there is a lot of infighting. Most of the world seems to have turned into wandering gangs, playing bystanders in games in order to steal their belongings. Almost all forms of communication have gone down, because why would anyone decide to maintain those things in an event like this? The only thing left is a few radio stations riddled around the world. In other news, things have been relatively alright for me. Over the past week, I've gathered a rather sizable amount of food and water, so that should hold me over for a while. I've been trying to document what has happened with some of the former GOIs after this all started. I don't know what purpose this really serves now, but it stops me from caving to boredom and gives me something to do. The data I have is listed below.
GOC. Unknown. Almost all cross-continental communication has shut down due to lack of upkeep. With information gathered from other similar groups, they have most likely fallen apart. UIU fell apart with the destruction of the FBI and US government. Chaos Insurgency seemed to have fractured off into many different factions and gangs. Serpentine. Most members seem to have fled into the Wanderer's Library to escape the entity's reach. Unknown if they succeeded. Church of the Broken God. Many of them have switched to praying to the entity as their true god. They have renamed themselves to the Church of the Vibrant Fortune.
Date: February 23rd, 2022, I think. It has been quite some time since I made a log, but there have been a few discoveries that I've made. 1. It seems that most anomalies have been wiped out. I thought that after the Foundation fell apart, that people would stop being killed by them. But it seems like many of them were destroyed by the entity. The only ones that remain are the ones that were sentient. 2. It seems that the entity is glowing less vibrant than it did before. I don't exactly know what that means, but maybe it's starting to lose power. Well, that's what I'm hoping at least. I've not been doing so well over this last month. A group of people wanted my house and supplies, so they played me in a game of dice. It seemed to be a close game, but in the end, I lost. They were nice enough to at least let me keep some of the food and water. I don't think things can get much worse from here. Date: I believe it is February 27th, 2022. I've been wandering for a few days now, and I've started running low on supplies. I'm down to a bottle of water and half a can of beans. I'm currently trying to scavenge for anything I can find. The city of Chicago has become a ghost of its former self. It's mostly empty, ruined streets with a constant eerie feeling all around. I feel like I'm being watched everywhere I go, like I never have a moment for myself. The air feels stale, with some smog filling it. I try my best to not stand out too much, in case one of the many roaming gangs come across me. It seems, though, that 3 major groups have taken up different sectors of Chicago. The West District was taken by those vibrant fortune cultists. The North District is occupied with a group called the Old Spirit. They seem to be a group of criminals running multiple casinos. Finally, the South District is ruled by the Agriculture Collective, a group of farmers in the more rural areas of the city. They mostly keep to themselves and don't like outsiders too much. I think it's best to not get involved with any of them for now. Date: I don't remember. It's been at least about a week since my last log, and the world has gone entirely to hell. We've been left in a crime-ridden world full of gambling and hatred. It seems some people found ways around the entity's control and are able to kill and commit other acts of violence. It appears that there was a loophole in the entity's statement. After all, it said all conflicts. It seems like it doesn't count harm done to an unconscious person as a conflict. I've not been too good. It all seems like too much to handle all at once. Seeing all these terrible things on a daily basis is starting to get to me. The bodies of men, women, and children strewn out in the cold, damp streets, trash cast aside. The vulgar indulgence of people gambling everything, even other people's property. The ashes of the damned that sweep the streets carrying the memories of those that didn't fall in line. We as a species have been reduced to nothing but savage tribals fighting for resources. I've been hanging on only by a thread, eating crumbs and drinking out of puddles to survive. I don't know what sort of sick entity calls this justice, what unknowable evil has come unto us, and laid bare the worst of us, in some twisted sense of morals and fairness. I don't know if I can keep going. Location: McKinley Park, Chicago. I haven't slept in days, and I can't remember the date, so from here onwards I'll just keep track of my location. I've been getting more paranoid as the days go on. That creeping feeling that tingles up my neck and down my spine has made sleep almost impossible. I fear that I'll be dragged off in the night if I ever fall asleep. However, not everything is so bad. At least I'm alive. That's all that really counts right now. The city seems more peaceful sitting in a park. I know it's only for a moment, and that everything is not alright, but for now at least, I feel like this isn't as terrible as it could have been. It's too early to get optimistic, but I can't just sit in sadness all the time. Over the last few days, I've been traveling to different parts of the city. It seems that the cultists have gotten more violent over the last few days. I've seen quite a few groups of them going into spirit territory. I think they're preparing for a war. I'll keep you updated, but... What the fuck was that? Alright, something's going on. I gotta go. Location: South Rockwell Street, Chicago. Yesterday's log had quite an unexpected outcome near the end. It seems like I was correct about my assumption of a war. That explosion was an attack sent from the Vibrant Fortune cultists to the Old Spirit, and I'm right between their territories. I moved a bit farther north recently, higher up into Spirit territory. I visited one of their many casinos, a repurposed commercial building. It seems that somehow they got their hands on generators to power their buildings. Weirdly enough, it felt normal, like the casino's purpose and atmosphere never really changed. The sound of slots whirling and spinning, the sound of the dice rolling on the craps table, the sound of discussing players at the poker table, and that signature sound of a roulette wheel spinning. The environment set before me didn't seem to be caused by that entity and its planet-wide game of chance. But it felt older than the entity, as weird as it sounds. It seemed as though it was always here, just that it was never pointed out. As strange as it might be to say, this place seemed most normal, human. Location: South Rockwell Street, Chicago. It seems that I'll be stuck here for a while. I can't leave back the way I came, unless I want to walk straight through a war zone. I don't want to walk further west because I doubt that the cultists would just let me go through their territory. And I would rather not go north, because it seems that humanity gets more perverse up there. Is this really the pinnacle of humanity in this apocalypse? Maybe I'm hoping for too much. I refuse to gamble anymore. I know I did once or twice in the past, but that was prompted by others. I don't want to fall into the pit of addiction that seems to have taken most people here. I want to keep myself somewhat sane. Maybe I should have listened to a passerby I heard and went south towards the collective. I probably would have had a better chance out that way. I'll try to hope that the way is cleared up soon. Location: South Rockwell Street, Chicago. Day in, day out, the same thing every time I wake up. The repetitive nature of things all turns out to be too much for me. For the few times I get to sleep, I dream of a better world. One that is more peaceful than here. Hope is all I have, and even that is starting to vanish. I can't live like this. If there is nothing except endless misery, then what is the point of me being here? Why should I stay in a world I don't belong in anymore? I've thought that many times, sitting atop buildings like I do today. I guess the thoughts finally caught up with me now. No more reason for me to stay in this wasteland. It's my time to go. Wait. What's that noise? Lottery card? Location: Washington, D.C. I don't know how I got here. One moment I was scratching at the card, and now I'm here. What I do know, though, is that sitting before me is the entity. I would have expected to see some of those cultists sitting before it, but due to the thickness of the dust, I don't think I'll see anyone else. All that lies before me is the entity, and nothing else matters now. Why did you do this? Fairness? What sort of sick, twisted fairness is that? You have only brought chaos to this world. If fairness is what you wanted to bring, then why kill us all? All of this was due to a prophecy? Then how is it supposed to be fair if it is set in stone? If that is the case, then you are not a god at all. You're a pretender. How about this? If you are so confident in your prophecy, then let us put it to the test. Let's put the fate of the universe in the hands of a coin flip. I knew you'd be on board. Call it.
Addendum 7002. O5 access required. Access verified. Note: the phone message is unable to be transcribed due to anomalous means. Classification of SCP-7000 has been updated.
Date: July 29th, 2022. I don't know what happened. All I remember was a blinding flash of light, and then the entity that caused all of this vanished. I'm alone now, with nothing but a desolate planet left in its wake. Destruction reigns as far as the eye can see, and in it I stand atop a mountain of ash. A king given a crown of a kingdom burned to the ground long before. Here I stand, the last of humanity. The end of an era. Maybe something beautiful can bloom from this world after all is said and done. As of now, everything is bleak, but in due time, maybe nature will take over the responsibility that we left behind. It's time to cause a shift in management, perhaps. Then again, I'm alone, and recording a message that no soul will hear. I think it's time for me to actually put in some work for the future. Wish me luck. Dr. Carl Hayden, signing out.
But that's not quite how the story ends. This is no time for a happy ending. This was but a beginning to a much longer tale. In any other story, this is when the hero triumphs over the evil of the world and starts anew. How a man who loses everything beats the highest power he can. However, this is no fairy tale. The man you heard before is nothing but a husk of the man he used to be. When I won that game against the entity that stood before me, I was split in half. My mortal body left to roam those wastes of ash. The axe is but a child now. My mind, however, took the very spot that entity once held. I now realize that the entity was once the same as me, a person. How lucky they are now to not be in this agonizing position anymore. This little story has a much grander ending in store, though. It appears that all universes will become like mine eventually. You can't stop it. You can bargain with it. You can't prevent it. It just goes from one unlucky universe to another. That is the point of the logs. I never knew what I was thinking when I first started recording them. Who would hear them, I thought. But now, I have a very clear idea of what to do with them. This is a prize of sorts. A prize to see which universe is lucky enough to receive a warning on their impending doom. Now, for my calculations, that means any singular universe out of the quintillions to receive this message would be lower than 1 times 10 to the negative 15th of a percent. That's, of course, not adding the fact that not all of those would be able to have the technology required to read it. But I'm just saying you have to be quite lucky. Of course, to the lucky people who have gotten this message, congratulations on being the only one. Your time is still coming. Let's make the finale of this story a big one when I get there. In all fairness, I hope that you try your best to stop me, because on that, I do wish you luck. It might be your only chance.
Item number SCP-7000, Security Level 5. Containment Class Esoteric. Secondary Class Apollyon. Disruption Class Amida. Risk Class Critical. Special Containment Procedures. Due to SCP-7000 not existing in this universe, it is unable to be contained at this time. Description: SCP-7000 is the consciousness of Dr. Carl Hayden. It is unknown what anomalous abilities SCP-7000 has, but it is thought to be a powerful reality bender. If SCP-7000 were to form in our reality, it would likely cause an XK class end of the world scenario. Prevention testing on SCP-7000 has begun under order of the O5 Council.